Hi everybody, it's Kelly O'Black for this week's Sketch It Out Thursday. This is our inspiration piece for the week, and that black and white on that board had me a little bit confounded until I started to think about photographs. This is the sketch I'm using. It's from Sketches in Time, that's THYME, that blog, sketch number 177. So when I looked at the black and white, I thought about my nephew's wedding, and their colors were black and gold, so I have a lot of photos that are a lot of black and white, and I thought, well, that would be an easy thing to use the inspiration for. So then as I was going through my pieces, I found that bokeh piece of pattern paper, which is the background. That's from Reminisce. It's called Wedding Day, and it's Wedding Toast is the name of the paper. Wedding Day is a collection, and that's from Michaels, by the way. And I liked the bokeh in the background there. It reminded me of all the circles, and it reminded me of all the birds flying in that woman's hair. So then I decided I needed to matte those photos, and I'm going on a little bit of a search to try to figure out what to matte those photos on. And then I find this little scrap of houndstooth paper, but it's not quite wide enough. It's from the color book All Chalked Up 12 by 12 paper pad that you can get at Walmart, or you could get at Walmart at one point in time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut just about a 1/4 of an inch or so off of each of the photos, and it's going to take me a little bit to do that because I need to do it from each side versus just from one side, or the photos will be uneven. So once I do that, then I have just the smallest reveal around the edges of the photos, which is what I really wanted. That swirl paper there, I'm going to use for my banner. And instead of me fishtailing both ends of it, I've decided I'm going to just fishtail one side of it. And I turned the sketch really basically 90 degrees. So that swirl paper is from Recollections at Michaels, and it's called Gold Swirl. All right, so that was a lot to get out in a very short amount of time. I don't normally use photos that are quite as photorealistic as that bokeh paper, and on the back of the bokeh there are actually 2 champagne glasses. That's why it's called Wedding Toast, and I think I might even flip that up for you at some point in time. But I just love the bokeh for these wedding photos. I just thought it was really super cool. So I was just kind of eyeballing there how big I would want the little banner, or the big banner actually, to be. And I'm going to eyeball it again here, and then I will cut my fishtail banner here. All right, so that looks pretty good to me. Now I'm going to need to cut a pretty shallow fishtail, and the easy way to cut a fishtail, if you've never seen it done, is to cut right into the center, however deep you want it to be, and that cut out from the corners. And for some reason I find it easier to cut this way into the banner, so sometimes I'll flip it over like that, just so I don't get a weird notch in it. Now on the sketch, the piece of paper that is essentially the photo that the paper that I've matted the photos on, does go actually under the banner, but I'm not going to do that. I'm actually going to just let it sit on top of the banner. What I was doing there is I decided I want to ink the banner for sure to help it pop off the background a little bit, and I was just looking to see if I liked my gold ink, my Gold Brilliance ink for that, but it's way too yellow. This bokeh paper and that swirl paper almost has like a khaki bronzy gold color to it, is the best way I can describe it. It's much more brown than a typical yellow gold. So I went back to black, since I have black on the photo mat there. And basically, I have the largest part of the layout done, and now I just need to figure out how I'm going to embellish this. Lots of times before I start these videos, I actually have embellishments sort of in mind. I didn't with this one at all. And part of that is I think I just wasn't even sure about what photos I was going to do or how I was going to interpret the black and white. Originally, I thought I might just use black and white paper, And then when I saw these photos, I decided they're very black and white, but they needed a warmer background. And there I looked at that cute little Fancy That card, or Fancy Us or something like that. But the cards are too white and they're too gold for that the paper. And also I just don't think it would have worked right. And I like the idea of that envelope, but that just doesn't look right either. It's too much pattern upon pattern upon pattern. Because obviously there's a ton of pattern on there. Then I find these flare badges, and those flare badges are from My Mind's Eye Fancy That. That's the name of the collection. And there's one that says I'm So Fancy, and it is the perfect color to go with that swirl paper and also the background paper. So I figured when I saw that there was some way I was going to need to work that in. Now I'm kind of looking at my Kaiser Craft embellishments here, and I can't remember the name of the collection. I was going to say something about Shine, but I'm not sure. Anyway, I don't end up using any of them. That's why I can't remember the name of the collection. And then I go to my Simple Stories, The Story of Us chipboard sheet, because that has some kind of brownie, khaki, and gold tones that I thought would work really well. And I find this little banner that says Our Day. So I pulled that out to use somehow. And then I'm looking at the flowers, and there's a couple of flowers on this sheet that really will work well with the colors, but I'm having a hard time positioning things here, so I cut the flare off of the sheet, or cut the part of the sheet so that I can move the flare around. And then I just decide 2 little flowers will be good with the button, but I'm wanting to back that cluster right there on the left on something. The black is way too black though. It just calls its attention, way too much attention to itself, because the black photo mat is almost a grayed out black is the best way I can describe it. So I am looking, I have a couple sheets of these chipboard stickers because I'd used this for another wedding album I did for my other nephew. And I just thought I'd see if maybe one of the hearts would work, or maybe I needed more than one of the flowers, but it just doesn't look right to me. I just leave the flowers as they are. And I kind of put that Our Day down there in the bottom corner, and I decided as I was looking at this and working on other embellishments that I just really liked that sitting down there. And there is, if you look at the sketch, there is that position there. All right, so this was one of those crazy chance things that happened. I was just going through my case of embellishments. I keep them in iris cases, and I saw this 4x6 card, and the colors were right, and I thought, but I didn't like the outside of it. And then I thought, well, I could cut out around this journaling piece here and see how that looks. And I thought, you know, what's the worst that happens? If I cut it out and I don't like it with this layout, I can always use it on another layout as well. So this, once I get this cut out, is going to turn out to be like the perfect sort of layering element. It just gives the flare badge and that flower a more restful place to sit on, I guess is the best way to describe it. And I'm only going to cut this side out that the flowers are on, and then about halfway, because the other half of this card is going to be tucked under the photo mat, so I don't really need to do that. And I really like the way that once this is under there, it does a really nice job of kind of just rest, I know, giving it a place to rest, I guess, which I've said already. All right, so now I need to get serious about this and get my banner down, because things are sliding all over the place and I'm having a hard time kind of positioning these pieces. Now I will tell one of the things, I don't know that you can tell this, but I had put hand lotion on my hands in the morning before I did this, and this was a couple hours later, and there still must have been a little bit of lotion on my skin, and I'm just detailing this last piece by the leaves here. But I got fingerprints all over these photos. The cool part about this, if you don't know, if you have undo, you can just use that and put it on the photos, and it'll take all the fingerprints off. So that's what I ended up doing once I'm all done with this. Okay, this was a mistake to actually put the ATG on before I actually had it positioned. That and I didn't have the banner glued down very well. I just had it glued from the top. So I don't want to glue the bottom of the banner. I want that a little bit free. Okay, so now I'm being careful. And, you know, I'm looking at this now, and that piece ends up higher than I originally had it, but that's fine. I think, you know, when I first put the little flare down, it was to cover the join in the photos. And then when I put the journaling piece on, I think I slid that a little bit further down, and I'd realized that I forgot to, or I think I inked it, but I didn't get it very well on one side or something, so I went back and inked it, and my photos were coming up a little bit here, so just getting them glued down, because I did everything very temporary here. Now that does have a sticky back to it, but because I don't want these falling off, I do add ATG on the back of these as well. All right. And these edges are coming up. I really didn't want the top of the banner coming up because that would have looked weird. That I really wanted to be stable. So now I'm just kind of guessing about where that will be, or deciding where that will be. And then I'm going to put that flower down. And I'm looking at it and I like it, but it just needs one more little thing. So I grabbed these enamel hearts from my Mind's Eye Yes Please collection, and these are just the enamel shapes, and they have little gold hearts. And so I'm just going to add one little gold heart into each of the little chipboard clusters, and that will be really basically the last thing that I do with the layout. I did have a little bit of a hard time deciding where that heart was going to go there. And there it is, all decided. All right, so actually thought of one more thing. What I wanted to do is I wanted the banner to sit up just a little bit, but I didn't want, this paper is pretty flimsy, so I didn't want to glue it to the actual paper, so I just put the foam tape down and left the little piece on top of it so it's not glued to the back of the paper. There's a still shot, a couple of detail shots. We'll be back with another video tomorrow. Bye!